Good afternoon. Welcome back, everyone, to our fifth and final session of the day here at PDMI East on Tuesday. We appreciate everyone for being here. As always, my name is Thomas Hare, the Chief Content Officer of the Performance-Driven Marketing Institute. A lot of you heard that 5 times now, so welcome in. We appreciate you being here. Last session of the day, again, presented by Blue Water, our education sponsor, and they have one more message to share with you today.
I'm incredibly proud to be the official protein bar of NASCAR.
Are you looking for an on-the-go
I
travel
feel like
snack?
my younger self. Lipazine works.
Get yours
It really
today.
works.
It's better on a Blackstone.
Blue Water's at table 3, so please visit them either this afternoon or tomorrow. We are here for our final session, TikTok Shop's Halo Effect, presented by the Brand Response Council. Chris Foster, directly to my left here, is the chair of the Brand Response Council for the PDMI. I'll let him do further introductions himself shortly, but it's going to be a great group. And Chris, take it away.
Great, thank you so much. So welcome in, everybody. Firstly, I'd like to give a big round of applause to Tom, John, Jessica, and Monica at PDMI. Come on, give it up. We make it happen. Thank you. Of course, of course, of course. Super excited to have you all here for this. This is a little bit of a different panel. We'll talk about it. So this is the TikTok halo effect. I'll do a little preamble, and then we'll jump in. So we know that TikTok has exploded for direct-to-consumer brands, both with influencer marketing and now with TikTok Shop. So TikTok has quickly evolved from what was an emerging channel to now an established, proven driver of real sales. So we're gonna have a different kind of panel. We're gonna highlight a fabulous brand with a great, great story. And then we're gonna show how that brand is a microcosm of the overall market and the data that we know overall. So what's key to distinguish the impact of TikTok has on the other channels like Amazon and Meta, and how not just TikTok Shop is effective, but how it radiates out into the other market channels that are out there. That's what we call and what we mean by the halo effect. So as more SMBs emerge to tailor their products to niche audiences and use influencers and user-generated content that tell a more authentic story right from them, we're entering a new era of D2C marketing. Reaching and engaging new purchasers is now more democratized, and it's available to more SMBs than ever before. You know, kind of gone are the days when traditional linear budgets and avenues are kind of a block to SMBs getting exposure and more sales. But now are the days when SMBs can use TikTok and other channels and its halo effect to more authentically connect with their customers. We'll do some introductions first. My name is Chris Foster. I'm the Chief Evangelist for PCM Integrations. PCM Integrations is the #1 direct mail platform for mid-level and enterprise sales teams and agencies. Our parent company is Postcard Mania. It's the #1 direct marketing platform for SMBs.
Hey everyone, my name is Jason Stone. I'm one of the managing partners at hustlebutter, and hustlebutter is a in-process and aftercare brand for tattooed skin.
Hi everyone, I'm Nisenzon, and I am the CEO of Charm, and Charm is a market intelligence platform where we track and analyze every direct-to-consumer brand and every product sold on TikTok Shop.
Fantastic. So, Jason said, tattoo care, right? So one of the things that we've talked about is that, especially now with the democratization of CTV, TikTok, and other marketing channels, SMBs have every chance to become a great brand. And I think it's important for us to kind of level set this. You don't have to be a big brand to be a great brand. And a great brand all have one thing in common, an authentic connection with their customers. So with some of these new marketing technologies, SMBs that have a devoted niche audience that can authentically connect with that product and the product's origin story have a real shot, not just at growth, but at scale, and then at establishment. We'll talk a little bit more about the great work that Jason and his team is doing with hustlebutter. But we're going to start. My buddy Josh Fogg. So I told him I was doing this panel with hustlebutter, and I said, have you heard about this brand? And he sent me a photo. I was like, dude, you got to give it up for PDMI East. You'll never meet him ever in your whole life. He's in a completely different industry. But, and he didn't want his face being showed, but he did show me his work, right? So he's a good buddy of mine, and he's doing this entire leg, which is not yet even filled in. I was mentioning it to Jason. You can see as you start getting past his knee in the upper right-hand corner, he's got pale skin, and the artist is using his skin as the highlights of the scales, right? It's really cool. It's beautiful. It's amazing. He's a huge fan. I had never heard of this brand before, but he sure had, because he's got this devoted following to this brand that's important to him, because this kind of art is important to him too. I'm going to leave this picture up as we start chatting because it's so awesome sauce. So, Jason, tell us about the origin story of hustlebutter.
So yeah, a lot of it plays on that authenticity in the space that you were alluding to. So our founders, Seth and Richie, they're avid tattoo collectors. They're tattooed from the neck down, and they get a lot of their tattoos from famous artists across the world. And they noticed in the shops that a lot of these artists were using petroleum-based gel in process and as aftercare. And then it's kind of shifted where a lot of these artists were bringing their own recipes, their own formulas in a tin, right? A lot of shea butter. So that's how our product was born. We created a shea butter that's used in process and used for clients as aftercare. And our product started reducing redness, reducing swelling. There was less pain for the client, and it made the skin more workable for the artists. So for example, this leg probably has taken about 20 hours so far. So, and a lot of this is done in 8-hour sessions. So our products help the artists get through those sessions because there's less pain for the consumer. And that's how our marketing strategy was born, through the artists, artist to artist, client to client, artist to client. And we got the products in the hands of real people, and that authenticity of building through the community became the moat that still surrounds our brand today. We're the #1 aftercare brand in the space, and almost every dollar of revenue can be traced back to someone saying, use this, an artist saying to a client, use this, hustle butter your skin after a tattoo. Fast forward, Amazon became our biggest revenue driver. And then a little after that, TikTok happened, and it all started coming together, and that artist to client moment that we've been building for a decade was starting to happen at scale, on camera, in front of millions. And so TikTok didn't really change our strategy, but it gave us a much bigger stage to fuel that strategy.
I love it. Quick question about how your tattoo shops sell hustlebutter. Can you give us some description, because I'm sure you're selling it to them directly in
Correct.
some kind of wholesale retail. So can you tell the audience how that works and the variety of the ways that they sell?
Yeah, so a lot of our sales coming from Amazon are mostly direct to consumer, but we have a large chunk of our business from distributors and tattoo shops themselves buying from us. So our pitch to the tattoo shop owners is buy our product, we give them a nice wholesale price, bake it into the cost of a tattoo, sell it in your shop, give it away, but by selling our product, you'll pay rent in your store. And a lot of these shops are mom and pop owned, they're not big chains, so they really appreciate a brand in the industry trying to help them out and forward their shops.
I love it.
And their work.
And what I love about that is that it's this, it's this junction between the mom and pop shop itself, but then the technologies like TikTok shop, which is making them, more giving them more exposure and making it that kind of scale more accessible. And so Alex, you and the team at Charm are seeing zillions of these data points, especially on TikTok. So there's an e-commerce tracking, but now there's a TikTok tracking, and I'm sure that you're looking at this as kind of a change in consumer behavior and change in the way we market things, especially with Gen Z. I've got a couple of slides that I want to show that we talked about, and I'd love you to talk to the audience about that.
Yeah, so I think first, kind of to lay the setting, right? I think generally there's kind of two major shifts happening in consumer funnels. The first is in the intent journey for consumers, which is when consumers are familiar with something that they want and where they're going to start that process to make a purchase for it, right? And that is shifting from, retail sites like Amazon or Google to GPTs like ChatGPT or other LLMs. They're going in, they're saying, I need a new blender, describing their use case in more detail and doing their research in those channels. But then there's this other journey that's really developed in the past couple of years, which is what we refer to as the impulse journey, which is, I'm not necessarily familiar with a product. I don't need it right now, but I'm watching TikTok or social media, I get exposed to something, and now suddenly I really need it. I need it right now.
I never know. I always wanted this.
And drop everything, and it consumes you because the people that are presenting it to you are people that you're seeing every day in their everyday lives, and they have that authenticity, and that really resonates with you, right? And that's why I think, Jason's experience, which he could speak to about on TikTok, is one of that many brands saw, which is getting exposed to products, right, for a whole new base of consumers that then leads them to ultimately purchase in all different channels through this new media.
Yeah, and I think that, way back in the Wayback Machine, we had infomercials with spokespeople who would kind of, be a voice of the brand. And at the time, that would create credibility and likability for a brand because you trust that person, so then you trust that brand. What I find interesting now, though, is that even if you don't know that person in TikTok or this user-generated videos or an Instagram, you kind of trust that person because they look and feel like you, and they're in their house, and they're not necessarily being paid or endorsed by the brand itself, but they're coming at you with a story that's authentic, right? And so as you start looking at this, how do you then talk to other brands about this change from the intent to impulse? And do you think that this change to impulse is on the fringe? Do you think it's a migration of shopping habits, or do you think it just is in a moment where a consumer can do both?
Well, I think it's actually a fundamental kind of change in how a brand needs to think about the different paths it needs to conquer in order to maximize its impact on its addressable market, right? I think that it's about informing users on the benefit of its products so that there's some base level of intent and consumers are out there looking for their products. There is brand awareness. People know about it, right? Maybe it's through, in Jason's case, the tattoo parlors and the artists that are telling their clients about it or giving them their first tube of hustlebutter. But then there's this other side, which is how do you basically arm this massive set of creators to take this really authentic approach. You brought up something really good. It's people that look like you and talk like you, right? Soccer moms and average Joes, as we describe them, right? These aren't like the Kylie Jenners of the world that don't look like you and are trying to sell you hustlebutter or something like that. And get them to expose you to this new base of products. And so I think it's really about, shifting the mindset for brands around their marketing strategies and about, making the realization that I think a lot of consumers don't want to feel like they're being sold to.
Right.
And that's what user-generated content really allows these brands to accomplish. It allows you to sell to people without making those people
selling to people.
Yeah, without making them feel like they're being sold to.
Yeah, well, and I think that I love this model that you put together here for intent versus impulse. My hunch is that this is not an or, but that this is an and that brands need to have a strategic approach to the intent journey, which is kind of a more traditional funnel approach, but also be thinking about the impulse journey where they might not have had added that before.
Exactly.
I like that. Okay, so clearly hustlebutter was founded before TikTok.
Yeah.
Right, and you were working with shops and you were trying to promote. Now, did you see this change in consumer behavior before TikTok, or like you said, did you realize that I could actually duplicate a word-of-mouth conversation and I just have to put this on TikTok and I just have to step back and let my users do it? What was the thinking behind that?
So It kind of evolved into that, but it didn't start that way, right?
Okay.
The signs of the consumer behavior changing in this slide were there, right? The Instagram style scrolling and discovery kind of paved the way for that type of behavior. And then it started showing up in our sales data. And by that, I mean on branded search terms, searching for hustlebutter on Amazon and on Google started gaining traction, which meant that consumers were already discovering our product elsewhere and coming to these platforms to buy. And they were ready. They already went through that journey. So as we dug a little deeper, we discovered that a lot of that was coming from TikTok.
Awesome.
So that's when we had a little bit of an aha moment. Oh, let's look into TikTok, right? We weren't doing anything clever on the platform. There were no campaigns. But as we dug deep, we noticed that, again, real people were talking about our product. They were posting about it. They were telling consumers about their journey with our product. And it was very organic and real and natural. So it really, that told us that the slide that Alex has here was actually happening to us in real time. And now we kind of just needed to show up and fuel that fire.
Sure, to actually build a strategy around how do we lean into this brand new market space that even if you didn't have experience for it. Well, like hustlebutter, brands are migrating to TikTok, right? They discovered it, they know it. And I think they're doing that because the customers are migrating to TikTok. So I'm going to show a couple of slides, and I'd love to then kind of zoom outside of the hustlebutter and kind of look at the broad strokes of the data regarding consumer behavior and TikTok. So let me get this slide, which is kind of talking about this being TikTok Shop is the fastest growing retailer in I mean, come on, guys, that's pretty cool, right? We're here to watch this. Like in real time, we're actually seeing the market change and history kind of evolve. I mean, people were around when Google, but we don't remember that. It's pretty historic when Google first came on the scene. It's pretty historic now that TikTok is the fastest growing retailer in history, and we're a part of that. So Alex, you're understanding it probably better than anyone else. Take us through.
Yeah, so total GMV a few weeks ago for the lifetime of TikTok Shop just crossed 110 billion. And in the first 24 months since TikTok Shop launched, so they launched at the end of 2022 in Southeast Asia. In the first 24 months, it reached the same scale that took Amazon about 15 years to get to.
Right. I mean, let's pause there just for a second. So think about that. In 24 months, in a localized region of the world, surpassing Amazon, took them 5 years to do.
15.
15?
Yeah.
15, even better. So the trajectory that we're seeing with this is not just a fluke. It actually just is exponentially high. And it can't but help drive consumer behavior and how brands respond. I'm sorry, I just found that fascinating.
No worries. And just in the US, we saw 14.5 billion in GMV last year. And it's on track to do just shy of 30 billion this year. 30? Yeah.
So it's going to double?
Just over double, yeah. It's really miraculous. I mean, it's now across every category, a top 5, across every major category, I should say, a top 5 retailer. In beauty, it's now like the number 3 beauty retailer in the world. It's insane. I mean, this is a platform that didn't even exist a few years ago.
Right. And I think that that's part of the message of PDMI too over the last couple of days is nobody in this room and nobody who works for you can fall asleep at the wheel.
Yeah. But I think, the craziest part about it is there's a lot of sales, but the craziest part is the exposure that it drives for products. Last year alone, there were 4 trillion views on shoppable product videos across TikTok Shop globally. 4 trillion. This year, we're forecasting that there's going to be 3 trillion in just the US market. That's an insane amount of creator content and people getting exposed to products that they maybe never heard of or maybe heard of but weren't sure if they were really interested in. And a lot of times when people talk about, algorithms, they talk about it with like this negative connotation, like there's something wrong with there being an algorithm or social media being addicting, and there are probably some not great things about it, but in the case of TikTok, their algorithm is really freaking good. They're incredibly, incredibly good at figuring out who needs to see which content and which products, and it works incredibly well as a result of that. And this is why brands have, you know, come on board in such massive troves. I mean, we're at over 3 million brands globally that are now leveraging TikTok Shop. It's insane.
Yeah, and so you think about that. You said it was 3 trillion?
We're on target to do 3 trillion views on
views.
shoppable content in the US this year.
US. And how many folks are in the US? About 330 million. Just think about that scale in terms of the trillions of views versus the population of the US. And that's just sheer, right? And so you can imagine as this technology gets even more robust and people learn the algorithms more, and more importantly, more small businesses move into this ecosystem and move into this shoppable place, why wouldn't it continue to increase? And the idea of the user-generated content is something that all users like. Again, people love seeing it. And not only that, who are these buyers probably? Who are the first adopters of these buyers? Most likely Gen Z, right? Who's after them? Generation Alpha. Generation Alpha, you're about 11, 12 years old. You're now starting to get your own phone. You're probably buying stuff. You're probably seeing stuff. Why wouldn't this consumer behavior continue for the next generation in even more scale where, like my kids never knew linear TV. Not to take anything away from the beautiful linear TV in this room. We love linear TV, but they never watched it. You can imagine younger buyers saying, well, I never shop on Amazon. I shop on TikTok because these are the brands that I love. I don't think that'll happen, but you can see how a shift like this is going to change and permeate from one generation to the next. So we've got the halo effect, and one of the charms, that's a pun, that was intended pun, of TikTok, is that the halo effect is across other channels like Amazon, Meta, et cetera, especially Amazon. So I'm going to show a slide, and I'd like to talk to you about the data, how the TikTok shop has affected other sales with your own business and with Amazon. This is it.
So I think this is really the beauty and what everyone should really start taking away from TikTok is the halo effect it has for brands. And there was a real, another realization for us here. And, when we launched TikTok, things were going well, videos, were gaining traction, but we had our concerns around margin. And is there channel profitability? Because it was much less than, even selling it at Ulta Beauty. So we decided to scale back and just pump the brakes for a little bit and see what happened. And what we saw was a dramatic decrease in Amazon sales directly after. Same with our website. And there were no other changes, right? The reviews were the same. The Amazon ad spend was the exact same. The product was the same. And what it made us realize is that TikTok and TikTok Shop is not to be viewed as a sales channel. But it was the very, very top of our marketing funnel, right? You can see that the correlation on this graph is nearly 0.8, right?
It's hilarious.
Which is wild. It's very strong. And in plain English, it just means that as TikTok Shop moves, whether it goes up or down in GMV, Amazon, website, everything else follows suit and moves with it. So yeah, we stopped treating TikTok as a standalone on our P&L, right? But we decided to look at it as an awareness and a discovery engine that feeds Amazon, feeds retail, feeds B2B, the website, and really establishes that brand credibility.
Yeah, because the brand credibility is there because you've got the users, and they can still buy on TikTok. So it's not just a video. I think that creates more credibility for the brand that you can actually purchase through that channel, even if you want to move on. So if you could walk us through kind of just in layman's terms, in plain speak, what's a typical customer action? Like if they're
Sure,
My
yeah.
buddy Josh is on TikTok and he sees it. What do they typically do?
And this is quite amazing because a lot of people are buying on TikTok Shop, right? But our sales on Amazon are far superior to our sales on TikTok Shop. So what we're noticing is on TikTok Shop, in order to get with the algorithm per se, you need to heavily discount, right, to get traction. And what we notice is more people are leaving TikTok after discovering our product and going to Amazon or our website, right? Because there's more trust, there's more behavior so far on buying on Amazon. The return policies are easier, delivery is easier, and they're paying full price. So our product that we're discounting to, call it $16 on TikTok Shop, sure, is gaining traction and getting sales, but it's exponentially increasing on Amazon. So at our full price at $25. So you discover on TikTok, you leave, you go buy full price on Amazon, and there's no sensitivity.
Right, but as a consumer that makes sense because the act of purchase, maybe it could be impulse right at the time, but especially if it's an aftercare product, especially if you've never bought it before, you're gonna wanna believe, trust, know, and like that person that you're seeing on TikTok. But if I'm me, and I'm probably not too dissimilar from other people, I want to check reviews. I want to see.
You
what
need to
other people
verify
have to
that.
say. I got to trust but verify.
Yeah.
So I can go to Amazon, and at Amazon, yes, I can buy it, but the first thing I'm doing on Amazon is I'm reading my reviews. And I'm looking at reading reviews and reading comments and saying, oh yes, okay, that looked great. I completely verify this, and I can just buy it right here.
Yeah. And something that's crazy for us, and it's just amazing to see, for the first time since we launched TikTok, and for the first time ever, the branded search term hustlebutter has surpassed tattoo aftercare on Amazon.
There we go. That's pretty. Come on.
So you have that like Band-Aid Kleenex effect.
Yeah. Come on. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. So, and TikTok Shop and TikTok was allowed for that.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
As a discovery engine.
As a discovery engine, right? And finally, you can probably seed this into your new spokespeople for TikTok is using hustlebutter as a verb.
Yeah.
Right. I got to hustlebutter my tattoo. Make sure it's all bright and shiny. I love it. I think that's fantastic, and it allows you to actually, and we'll talk a little bit about it later, but to move into a different place in your brand arc where instead, like we talked, instead of not necessarily upstart, but entryway, but to becoming like the established brand. I think that's awesome because we know that there are going to be chasers, right? We know that other people are going to look at hustlebutter's success and be like, I can do that too. But if you can get hustlebutter as the verb that everybody uses, that's fantastic for your brand.
Yeah, between that and going back to the authenticity in the space of building in this close-knit tattoo community, it's stuff you can't just come out and buy.
That's right.
You have to make the relationships with the artists, and that's where the consumer's born.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because you have already established that deep, authentic connection and integration into the community.
Yep.
That's perfect. That's what all brands want, right? The brands want to be knitted into the fabric of your consumers' lives, right? To be a part of that community. So there's no distinguishing break between the brand and the consumer, right? They're all part of the same mission. I love it. So this is a great study for hustlebutter, as you know. But there are other brands besides hustlebutter that you study and you understand and that you've seen through the Charm platform. So I want to talk about this next slide, Alex, and if you could take us through how you're looking at other direct-to-consumer brands on a more macro scale, because you're seeing millions of brands on the Charm platform.
Yeah, so maybe also just to reflect on something Jason said, right? I think that I give a lot of credit to Jason and his team for having the patience to really analyze everything and the impact beyond the direct channel and see what that looked like and make that connection. A lot of brands that my team has spoken to really didn't go that route early on in their TikTok journey. They entered the channel, saw that it wasn't profitable, and bailed. And they lost a lot of advantage that they would have had in the market by building out the muscle, building out their affiliate creator network, by not making the realization about, you know, how they should be analyzing the economics. And when we've done an analysis, we found that over 25% of the top 1,000 beauty and health products on TikTok Shop in the US are actually losing money when you isolate TikTok Shop as a channel for them. But they all are super willing participants because when you factor in the halo effect into other channels, right, it's incredibly lucrative. And that's the right way to think about it, because it's a top of funnel awareness driver as much as it is a bottom of funnel e-commerce platform. It's not like an Amazon.
Right. What I love about that, Alex, is that you're isolating the job of TikTok Shop. And Jason, you had mentioned it before, every channel's got a different job to do, right? Facebook's got a different job, Google, Amazon, CTV, other kind of marketing channels have a different job. And TikTok's job, if it's thought of as, oh, I've got to drive profitable margin through my TikTok Shop, but maybe that's not its job.
Yeah.
Maybe its job is instead to generate the halo effect to drive sales through Amazon.
Yeah.
And it's not just Amazon. I mean, we see this is a great slide to speak to. We see the halo effect in retail, an average of 46% lift in retail brick and mortar sales 3 months after a TikTok Shop sales spike. I mean, that's crazy. That's people in store buying the products that they saw creators market to them on TikTok Shop. I also read a great quote the other day of, like, you know, some brands are pouring all this money and losing all this money on TikTok Shop. Why would they do that? And the guy answered, well, because their next conversation when they're pitching to Walmart is going to go really, really well, right? Because they've generated so much exposure and so much brand awareness in the market that retailers are dying to be the ones to actually be able to capitalize on those brands. So there's all these second order effects that happen by investing in the channel, both in direct halo effect sales, but then also the leverage it gives you when you think about, here's how much awareness I've driven for this brand. Do you, retailer X, want to be the one to actually carry this product on your shelves and be a place where, you know, consumers could go and fill that halo effect need?
Yeah, and I love that, and I love that Charm's got the data for this, because I think what's important is that when someone says halo effect, man, I'm telling you, it's like this marketing speak. Oh, there's this halo effect, and no one really believes it. They're like, oh yeah, that's kind of those MBA things that they talk about. But it actually being proven out with Amazon, with store retail, that you have the data to show that you could call it a halo effect, but you could also call it an engine, right? It's an engine to drive sales into other channels. I love it. So Jason, even though TikTok is a new channel, you're still following some of the best practices of online products and product selling. So most DTC brands, especially when they first come out, have a flagship product or kind of a hero product or a champion that brings them most of the sales. Then you gain a following from that product, then you can cross-sell to other products. Everyone here knows that arc. And the beauty is that you can, with TikTok especially, if you get your user-generated content, they can lean in to that product of your choice or lean into that hero product. So I'm going to show this to you, and I'd love you to talk about it because I want to understand your hero product. Come on. There we go.
There we go. Cool. So the punchline here, right, is kind of what I've been alluding to this whole time, is real people telling their own stories, and that outperforms right now brands trying to sell that and tell that same story. So you got to lean into these creators because they're talking to the people and they are kind of figuring out what works. And that's what we really discovered when we launched on TikTok. And I think a lot of the mistakes that some brands make is they put all their products on TikTok, right? And then they have limited resources to market them, right? And there's no focus or concentration of affiliates, and it gets lost in the shuffle, right? So have the creators who want to create and want to promote their product of their choice, let them do that, right? Don't try and spread it amongst different products, because then the end consumer is just going to get a little lost, not know what to buy, and maybe just move on. So the creators, again, picked the hero SKU for us, and it's the most used one in our videos. It's the most used one on artist stations. If you walk into a shop, you can see the texture, the beauty, the application, and it's very, very visually appealing for a consumer. So, you know, this product helped us become a leader in a category that 5 years ago people didn't know existed, right? Tattoos are way more mainstream and accepted today than they ever were. And you see that in everyday advertising and in the workplace.
And with teenagers.
And with teenagers, yeah. And so, you know, TikTok allowed us to do what no other channel really could. We weren't just selling the product, we were educating the consumer on the category. And educating a customer is, you know, some of the most important things when you're looking for category growth. So TikTok gave us category creation at scale, and the hero product allowed for that, and so did the affiliates and the creators.
Yeah,
the other products naturally follow.
And then the other products naturally follow, because if you've got someone telling a story about a specific product, it makes it real easy for someone else because they're not confused about what to buy.
Yeah.
They know exactly what to buy because the consumer talked about it. We got some videos to share from some real folks, and this is going to be awesome because I'm going to do this one at a time.
Get a tattoo, what are you using for the aftercare?
I'll just use lotion.
And I just let them heal.
Yeah. Keep your tattoos looking fresh. Hustlebutter.
Oh, it smells good.
Yeah. You can use it before, during, and after the tattoo.
Oh yeah, I like it.
Yeah, that makes it look fresh. Makes it look sick.
Yeah. Smells good, makes it look darker. First thoughts, it's great.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Like
makes it look really fresh.
You guys can keep that, that's yours.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Appreciate it.
Happy
Thank
holidays.
you.
That's a 3x return on ad spend. 4.8 million views. That's a lot of advertising power. That's a lot of exposure. And also, it's real return on ad spend. It's real sales.
Dude, there's no way you're getting a tattoo like that just for it to look faded and shit like that.
Bro, you're like the third person that's told me that now, bro. I literally used every single lotion I could. I used Aquaphor, Vaseline, coconut oil, like literally everything I used, and it does not work. Like every time I go out somewhere, they're like, "Oh, let me see your tattoo," and they're like, "Dang, bro, did you get that like 10 years ago?" I'm like, "Bro, I'm only 19, bro. There's no way I got it at 9 years old." Like, dude, there's literally nothing else I can do about it. And the worst part about it is that it's permanent. Like, I know people that have tattoos and they're fading. You're like, dude, you're kind of like insecure about it because there's nothing you can do. So, I don't know. I'm just going to kind of take my L and move on.
Well, dude, my dad, he's been doing tattoos for like 31 years now, and he gave me this stuff to try out. Here, just give it a try.
What is it?
It's all natural ingredients.
All natural?
Yeah,
so
it's a tattoo balm.
What's the difference between like an all natural tattoo balm versus like the other ones like that have the Aquaphor and Vaseline?
Well, like Aquaphor, that has like harmful chemicals in it. This stuff, it's all natural, so there's none of that stuff. It's completely safe to use.
I think I heard something about that. Doesn't Aquaphor and Vaseline have like petroleum jelly and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's not
like
good.
Bad for your skin.
Yeah, like makes your skin peely.
Bro, look at my tattoo now. It's like changing. Why does it look so
look
fresh
better.
and new? It looks like I just got it yesterday.
Yeah.
Wait, what is this stuff even called?
It's called Hustle Butter.
Hustle Butter? Wait, how much is this? Like $80 or something, bro?
No, dude, it's $20 right now off of TikTok, and it has free shipping.
Bro, wait, can you send me the link for it? I need to get this for my tattoo.
Yeah, bro, I left a link somewhere down in this video, but I'd grab it now because the flash sale is almost over.
Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Next up, he has to shave that mustache, but that's another issue. But check, I mean, 6.8 million views, 12x return on ad spend. That's fantastic. Thomas, I know that you're a Red Sox fan, so I really appreciate you suffering through this next video.
Before, let's go ahead and put some of this on. Rub it right into the blue. Oh, feels so good. It's relieving. Oh, yeah. Oh, feels so good on my tattoo. And look, you could already see it popping. How blue is becoming more vibrant right there. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Let's bring you closer so you guys can get a closer look at this. You can notice how much bluer it is now compared to the part that I didn't do. You can see it's not there, and then right there, nice and vibrant again. I left the link down below. This stuff's no joke, and it's on a massive flash sale for 50% off. But you have to be quick because they're going to sell out.
But check, I mean, first of all, he's awesome. But second of all, spend $400 on ad spend to get $30,000 in revenue. I mean, come on, right? I challenge anybody here to have a marketing return on ad spend like that, right? 400 to 30K. Do that all day long. Do that every day. These are awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course. That's why you let the creators do the talking.
That's
right?
exactly why you let the creators do the talking. So we know that hero products are awesome, and we also know that the hero product is a gateway into sets of products. And we all, as consumers and as DTC brands, we all love a good bundle, right? We love a bundle. So Alex, why don't we talk about bundling and kind of what you talk about with multi-packs and how this actually plays out with what we just talked about.
Yeah, so I think generally, right, there's a couple fundamental aspects to the products that tend to do really well in TikTok Shop. And one of the really key fundamentals is the product's demoability. And sets or multi-packs really tend to lend themselves to kind of routines and multi-step processes or combos of products that go very nicely with this concept of demoability, right? So if you think about like a beauty tutorial where somebody's taking you through, their whole beauty routine, and then that whole beauty routine is sold as a set altogether. And so we see that kind of do very well from a sales perspective. As you can see here, 36% of the top 1,000 products sold in beauty were sets, multi-packs. And the other benefit, right, is for consumers that we found is that it gives them this sense that they're getting a really good value deal. And on the brand side, there's a higher chance it becomes more economical for them on a direct channel basis, right? So going back to our earlier discussion around how, a lot of these products are actually losing money within TikTok Shop. As you increase the ticket size, you're subsidizing a lot of the fixed costs that, you're giving for across the logistics, across the fulfillment, across all these things. And so it ends up being a better deal in many cases.
Sure. And you know what? I mean, what's interesting is that we got used to bundling, like, when you were a kid, it was the McDonald's value meal and you bundle together. And then Amazon started to say, okay, now add this to your cart and bundle these things up and the different sets. And so what I love about this idea is that when you've got a product set like hustlebutter, the strategy is actually really clear. Have a hero product, get them into the hero product, expose them into the bundle or the multi-piece set, and then increase your margins and increase brand affinity and loyalty by getting them into those sets. That's awesome. We paced this brilliantly. You've been perfect. We've got time for maybe one more question because it's right at about 4:15. So I'm going to do this one last slide as kind of the takeaways. We want to talk about this where kind of measuring your off-platform sales from the TikTok halo effect. Again, remember the job of TikTok Shop, sure, it's to sell product, but maybe it's to do a little bit more. Maybe don't ask it just to sell product. Instead, ask it to influence sales in other channels, both on Amazon and in storefront. Use the bundles. Prepare a path for your customer to do the hero product and then the multi-set. And then, of course, get your Yankees fan, Red Sox fan, Yankees fan, to lead with those demo videos so that they can actually show the real thing. So final questions for you both. Where do you go now, Jason, in 2026 to 2027, strategically looking at TikTok Shop based on what you've learned?
Yeah, so I think a big part for us is keep doing what we're doing, right? Keep building this creator network, keep pushing the product, telling the story, right? TikTok is a storytelling platform. And I think for us, when it comes to something like our Hustle Essentials aftercare kit, that's a story in a box, right? It is a kit that helps a client on their tattoo journey, right? It has 3 products in there for in-process, aftercare, healing, everything. And when you deliver that to a creator, the story is there, right? They know exactly the use case and they can create their journey based on the kit. So I think it's leaning into a lot of these newer releases strategically, building the creator, network and just kind of taking it in stride. And right, TikTok is, like Alex said before, this platform didn't exist 5 years ago and it's changing every day. So you just have to be able to, be agile and roll with the punches and see what happens.
I love it. So Alex, a slightly different question for you. You're steeped in the data. You're looking at literally millions of e-commerce brands and adding onto TikTok. What are these signals that you're seeing now that might be, I'm not going to say predictive, but maybe probabilistic into 2026 and beyond?
Well, I think first is just the established brands that we see coming on to the platform, right? That was a big change that happened, early last year and continuing now. We're also starting to see more retailers leaning into the platform. So obviously QVC was one that ended up becoming the biggest shop. They're actually a proud customer of ours. We have a great relationship with them. Thanks. We also saw Ulta Beauty launch. That was in the news a couple months ago or a month and a half ago on TikTok Shop. I think that we're going to see a lot more retailers enter the ecosystem and start selling product through there too, both their own kind of private label products as well as exclusives that they're going to have with brands that only they're going to be listing. And I think that everyone's realizing that they can't miss out on this train and that it's just too important in terms of driving consumer awareness and exposure within a key demographic. And yeah, I think the other piece is that brands are starting to become more educated around their expectations, and that's leading to more consistent performance and staying power and results, right? We're seeing less of that hopping in. All of a sudden, I spoke to a brand a couple of years ago when it first launched. They're like, "Oh yeah, we tried it, didn't work." I'm like, "Well, what do you mean you tried it?" They're like, "We listed our products." I'm like, "Okay, did you put out any content? Did you work with any creators?" They're like, "No." I'm like, "All right, well." It doesn't work like that.
Right. It's interesting because every marketing channel has this arc of their own, right? Some level of testing and observation. The larger brands are going to be more risk averse before putting dollars and time in. Smaller brands say, "We got nothing to lose. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Let's grow sales." So enterprise brands can learn from the SMBs and then try to figure it out through their own bureaucracy how they go and apply. But to your point about maturing, their perspective is they don't look for the quick hit. "Oh, we launched on TikTok Shop 2 weeks, it didn't do anything, shut it down." We're learning, like I said, learning its job and putting it in perspective with their PPC or their social or their other types of channels. As it becomes a more mature channel and the learning gets more evolved, it'll be interesting to watch this year. Thomas, I'm sure we've got times for a couple of questions before everyone wants to hustle butter on out. No, they can't hustle butter because you don't have tattoos, but hustle on out for the cocktail event.
Here we go.
I just had a question about your content. So you guys are using influencers to create this type of user, UGC content and then running ads with that UGC?
Correct. TikTok has a really awesome creator platform where brands can reach out to creators to, offer them incentive to promote their product, and then you just send them a couple of products, and then also they can register for your brand and a brand can accept them or not. So it's a really good creator platform that TikTok has built into their back end that is very easy for brands to use. And then, yes, we determine what's working, and we have a team that decides what ad spend to put behind which posts.
How you doing? Michael Weinstein with Jam Direct. Following up on that, Jason. So when I'm not running my marketing company, I also have a TikTok channel. I do music on there. It's gotten quite big, and I get I get brands reaching out to me all day, to the point where they clearly, a lot of them don't even look at my content. Today I got an inquiry if I would want to collaborate on a hair care line. So I don't think they're watching. So
you should do it.
Take
the cash.
Yeah, right. My question is, how I stopped looking at the invites because they're just all day, and if someone reaches out to me directly, I'll respond. But I'm in the content or the creator program as well, and like I said, I get these alerts. How do you, as a brand, break through the spam of the millions of brands reaching out to content creators and get noticed so that you find the people that you want versus being one out of thousands of brands reaching out?
We use Charm's data. They tell us which creators are best and work well for us and where we should target that. And that's the beauty of having platforms like what Charm's building to know where you target.
So one of the things I loved about this panel was the dynamic between the two of them because they each are serving each other, right? you're being served by Charm's data and targeting, you're being served by HustleButter's learning and the fact that they're growing and sharing all this information. And so I think that looking for that combination of the data provider and support plus the brand to accelerate that learning in your own marketing, I think that's the way to go.
Absolutely. And just to add one interesting kind of tidbit, a lot of brands that have very mature creator programs, 40,000, 50,000 creators they're working with, have actually felt like they've tapped out of the creators on TikTok and are now going to people who aren't creators and convincing them to become creators. I spoke with the head of Goalie Nutrition last year on a panel, and they're going to like construction workers and getting them to become TikTok creators. And some of these guys are doing now like 200 to 300,000 a month in sales for them. And I was like, well, obviously whatever job they were working on is totally doomed, and they're never going to do construction again. But it's like pretty insane to your point, right? Because there's like a concentrate, only so many brands can hit so many people. You have to be really targeted, and that's also where we try to help some of our customers.
And also you can look at the brands, filter through some of them, look at the brands that you like, that resonate with you, and kind of just determine what you feel comfortable talking about and what works with, the personality and the brand that you are on TikTok.
All right, how about a round of applause for our guys?
How about
here?
these guys, right? Is there?
No. They're actually building educational programs to get those people to become creators on TikTok and launch their own accounts. And it's always through those people's accounts.
Creators.
That's how the whole thing works, right?
Yeah, you don't want it on your site.
You don't want it on your own account. Yeah, thank you.
Round of applause for everyone.
Please, guys, let's go.